All right, good evening, everybody. It is 7:07 PM on the 27th of August. We will open the Olivet City Council meeting at 7:07 PM. Please take roll.
Mayor Waldman,
I am here.
Chairman Pro Tem Knox.
Here.
Councilmember Clark,
Here.
Councilmember Carl,
Here.
Councilmember Weil.
Here.
All right, welcome, everybody. Welcome to those that are in the audience. Next item we have is communications. Madam Clerk, any communication?
I have no written communications.
All right, thank you so much. We'll go to item 3, the city manager's report. Ms. Shackley, good evening.
Good evening. Please
Oh,
bear with me for a
not this
second.
minute.
It's Rick. All right, oops. I'll share my screen. All right, good evening, everybody. First thing, couple of upcoming events. Maybe. Okay. We have the annual Battle of the Badges blood drive between the Olivet Fire Department and the Olivet Police Department. It is a blood drive for the Red Cross. It will be here in the City Center Community Rooms on September 5th from 1 PM to 6 PM. So the departments compete for who can have the most number of donors, and the loser either cooks breakfast or washes the others' vehicles. So it's a little competitive between the departments. So we would encourage everybody to come out and give blood, and then make their choice as to who you want to support, fire department or police department this year. Next is movie night, which is Friday, September 6th. It's going to be at Stacy Park. They're showing Inside Out. This is a free event. So bring the family out, bring your chairs, bring your blankets. You can bring your own food. Please just don't bring anything with glass out for movie night. Then getting into Stacy Park. Then getting into October is the Great Olivet Cleanout, which is the shredding and electronic recycling event. This will also be at Stacy Park from 4 PM to 7 PM. So we encourage individuals to come on out, bring your shredding, bring your electronic recycling, and just, in general, clean out the things you don't need anymore. And then last but not least is the 11th annual Turkey Trot, which will be November 28th, which is Thanksgiving morning, again at Stacy Park, starting at 8 AM. So registration is open. You're welcome to register yourself. There's a fun run for kids. There's lots of, it's just a fun event for people who run, people who walk, the kids. Come out and enjoy your community first thing on Thanksgiving morning. And then for that and any other information, we encourage everybody to sign up for This Week in Olivet. It's a weekly email blast for a variety of things happening throughout the city. And that's all I have.
Does anybody have any questions of the city manager? All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Next we have staff reports.
So starting with the fire department, they went down to the Missouri River and they were practicing their swift water rescue techniques. So using the boat or using a boat, swimming in the river, tying knots, saving people out of the river. You can see the photo there of them practicing their skills. Parks and Recreation. So if you have been to Five Oaks recently, you have seen the piano. The piano used to be at the previous community center and it has come back to live at Five Oaks. And there have been a number of people who just sit down at the piano and play. It's available for people to sit and do that. And then further down the hallway from the piano, the staff have put out a chessboard which has become very popular with kids and teenagers and adults, and so popular that they've also started asking for additional board games to go out. So Parks and Rec is going to get some additional board games and kind of put them on a rotation. So if you'd like to play the piano or play chess, stop by Five Oaks. And then the long-awaited Warson Park splash pad is open. So today would have been an excellent day to go splash around up at Five Oaks, Warson Park. The planning department, if you have driven east on Olive, you have noticed the steel. There's a lot more than this photo shows. So the structural steel is up for Aldi. So they are moving right along, and they continue to be on track for an opening at the beginning of next year. As well as if you've traveled north on Price from Olive, you've seen the large construction trailer, and this is in place for the Irvington Place apartment complex. So they're getting ready to start that project as well. The police department participated in Municipals. This is our 1-week camp for kids that teaches them about all kinds of things municipal related. So they had a day with the fire department, they had a day with the police department, they had a day with planning, they did a day with parks. So the police officers, though, they got to bring the fun animals. So everybody got sworn in as junior police officers. Creve Corps brought their canine team. And then St. Charles City Mounted Patrol brought their horses out. So the kids had a pretty good time.
Did Carlos make them junior inspectors?
Carlos let them build cities of the future. And then lastly, Public Works. So as you may recall, the city redid the lower lots at Five Oaks. And the lot turned out beautifully. Unfortunately, there was a slight calculation error in where the curbs were placed, and that affected the measurements for the striping. And they didn't realize that error until after they had put the striping down. And as you looked at the striping, it was off kilter. So that wasn't going to work. So Bruce worked with the contractor to figure out the best way to remedy this problem. And the best solution was to sandblast off the stripes, which is what you see here. They are going to then repaint, accounting for the curb error. And then they're going to put on a rejuvenator, which is kind of like a moisturizer for asphalt. And that's going to compensate for the surface damage that was done by the sandblasting process. So that is the best solution to remedy this problem that really was unforeseen happening. And then these are your upcoming meetings. I will say, as of today, I don't have a topic for the September 3rd work session. So unless something comes up between now and Friday, expect to see a cancellation notice in your inbox.
Are there any questions of the city manager? I just have one. Up in the, I'll define it as the old Grandview School lot. Do they not stripe those as well? And were those done correctly, or did those have to be redone as well?
So those were striped correctly.
Okay,
It was just a,
I just
Yeah.
didn't know whether it happened only in one spot or whether we're gonna,
it just happened at the
Okay.
Five Oaks lot.
okay. All right, thank you very much. If there's no questions to the city manager, we'll get on to item number 5, the monthly financial report. Mr. Mann, good evening.
Good evening to you as well, Mayor and council members. In front of us, we have our 1 month for our first month of FY 25. And with any financial report with just 1 month, it's kind of difficult to say where things are going. We did not start out stellar by any means, but we'll keep monitoring these things as we go forward. General fund revenues below our expectations by a little over 138,000. And then the expenditures are above expectations by around 100,000 for a net unfavorable variance of about 239,000. On the revenue side, the shortfalls are spread pretty evenly throughout most of our major categories. In the property taxes, the county is a little bit slower than usual paying on the fire protection cost, but that'll work its way out. On the expenditure side, which is, maybe just as concerning when we can't explain, good news is it's just, we usually pay our health insurance a month ahead of time or so for the August payment. So we have two of them reflected in this report, and then some of the other part-time wages in the recreation department, because we're a little heavy this time of year with camp going on. That'll work its way out. So expenditures are pretty well explained. On the revenue side, we're just gonna have to pay attention. If we go to page 2, I put the monthly chart in just a little bit different format. Now, this is what that the line bar looks like if you, or sorry, the lines across look like if you just put them in a bar chart. Again, the one we look at is that orange one on the far right of each given month, and you can see kind of for scale where we're at with this new sales tax. Kind of the decrease in sales taxes compared to what we've seen in the last 7 years. And then we get a little sneak peek into August. Obviously, those August isn't going to provide us a whole lot of relief when it comes to that sales tax category below expectations. And then I'll remind everybody, the base here, where it looks like 0, is actually at 100,000. It was an old way to make sure that it worked its way out, but we may have to redo that. But that's why they go below that solid line there. The base is up at 100,000, and we've never got 0 sales tax. With that, I don't have anything else. Again, with 1 month, more than happy to answer any questions or bring anything back for next month.
Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Mann? Greg, go ahead.
Mr. Mann, do
Mm.
you have a sense of the sales tax? Is it down across the board, like from all our payers, or, I mean, do you have any visibility to that, or?
You bet. Yeah, it's mostly in that the single payer, which it comes from the department, or as motor vehicle accounting, which is a collective term for anybody in this room that lives in the city that buys a vehicle. Doesn't matter where you go to the DMV, if your address is within the city of Olivet, city of Olivet, then the sales tax on that comes here.
Okay.
That's down a lot, again, because of the payer that left the commercial property when they vacated. But other than that, everything else seems to be fairly strong.
Okay,
It's just
so
the magnitude of that one payer is being felt.
what did it?
Yeah.
It's not a
So
general
what we're
economic
seeing here-
downturn or,
No,
anything like
what we're
that.
seeing here maybe, and should work its way out, it may take a little bit of time into the rest of this calendar year, is there's no sharing. We're not sharing any of the revenue where we were sharing about 43, 44, 45% year before. So with that, it should work its way out, as we weren't, again, further in the year, we were sharing 40-something%, and now we're sharing 0. So that is maybe where we'll get recalibrated, or hopefully it'll work its way out, but we're paying attention.
Thank you.
Councilman, Chairman Pro Tem Knox.
Mr. Mann, I was just wondering, with the stock market at all-time high, how is our pension doing?
The last pension, we had one in the beginning of August. I don't want to steal anybody's thunder. We had a meeting at the beginning of August. I guess not recently, but you guys have met me since then, right? The pension's doing well. Return on assets for the year were above our expectations at 7.5%. Something I'm gonna say like low 8s. But overall, everything's doing well there.
Right. Thank you.
And then, Mr. Mann, I'm going to follow up with a question with regard to, in April, we went ahead, the council said, yes, take, I believe it was $2 million, put it in for investment. Let's see what we get in interest and returns from that money. I realize we're just in August,
Mhm.
but what have we seen in any of the interest gains from taking that money out and putting into investment? Do you
Sure.
know that?
At that, yeah, I'm gonna go back to last month. I can tell you, we locked in at a 6-month on $1 million of that. That'll bring in, it was at 5.36. And then at that day, we put in, or the next day after that, put in another $1 million at 5.12. So the whole like the backstory here, I guess, is that, you know, for part of our budgeting, we were kind of seeing a shortfall. Let's take advantage of some of these interest rates and some excess cash and try to generate another $100,000. So with those two, we're at 40, 60, we're at 72,000 just with that. So that's locked in. The one was a 6-month treasury bill, and it matures in October 31st, and we'll look to redo and try to get some more of that as we come through. We may come up a little bit short now that interest rates are a little bit lower, but you know, we've always said that before, and then here they come again, pop up a little bit. So that will be a success more than not, because we did take advantage of that when that approval was given it back in May.
Appreciate it very much
Mhm.
for your information. And if there are no additional follow-ups to Mr. Mann, we will move on to item number 6, City Council reports. I will turn to my left and my fellow council member, Mr. Carl.
I have nothing to report.
Councilmember Clark,
I have nothing to report at this time.
Chairman Pro Tem Knox,
Nothing to report.
my fellow council member Maxine Wall.
I have 2 meetings to report
All
from.
right.
So because I was not at the previous August meeting, I'm going to go back to July 29th. I subbed for Rick Knox as liaison to the EDC meeting. The discussion that evening was focused on examining the commercial occupancy and business license fees. Don Doty made a presentation of the current fees and had prepared from different municipalities around the area comparable practices, and it just led to a conversation. Half of the commission was on Zoom that night, the other half was here, and one person was absent. So they decided to postpone the September meeting until picking a chairman until the September 30th meeting. The Parks meeting was last week, and I flip to that page. We had 3 new members at the meeting. Kate Bishon-Hellman, Mike Solomonov, and Stephanie Todd. And so we spent a good portion of before we went on Zoom, we did a little meet and greet prior for the 3 new commissioners, so they could get to know everyone. Then when the Zoom meeting started, Beverly Tucker Knight took us through an orientation with them about the structure and the organization and how city council works and their relationship to city council, meeting procedures, communication, park mission, responsibilities. And Paul, you'll like, she spent a lot of time on the Sunshine Law. Sue Rich was voted in as the new chairperson, and Bill Henson is the vice chair. They discussed construction updates, which Ms. Yackley already touched upon with the Warson Park splash pad being open, the park paving projects, and the Centennial Greenway. The Centennial Greenway, until it is complete in the fall, with all of the vegetation and all the trees and everything being planted, it will not be officially opened until after that. So we're looking at well into October. But then we did our update on the Five Oaks memberships. We have crossed over 1,000 members. So we have 933 households, but that doesn't account for how many are in a household. So if a household has 5 or 6 or 4, so we are well over the 1,000 mark. We also had in the month of, from our July meeting to our August meeting, we had 60 additional members since July 17th, and it flip-flopped because it's always been residential households were the #1 membership, and then Renew Active, and they flip-flopped last month. Renew Active is the largest group now, and then residential households. So they're kind of, flipping back and forth. But this is a good time, and I think with school starting up, we'll start seeing even some more members, when the weather cools down and people want to go back inside. And the new program guide will be out soon, and I think there's some amazing activities that are forthcoming in that, and that also will bring more business, and not more business, but more activity. It was a good meeting. It was a very productive meeting. So, are there any questions?
Yes, I have a question about I know they have Renew Active. Have they heard anything from
They're
Silver
still
Sneakers?
working on, they're still trying to negotiate with Silver Sneakers. They're in conversation with UHC, but it's a different process and a very long process. So no results on that at this point. When we do, I will report that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Earlier today, I attended along with my fellow council member Maxine Wild, the Olivet Housing Authority meeting, and conversations continue with regards to the occupancy, the inspections and improvements within those 14 homes. And again, they will have a meeting, not in September. Their next meeting will be in October. Earlier this month, on August 15th, I was honored to have the staff of the city be present as the city presented its State of the State with the Creve Coeur Olivet Chamber. It was an interesting day, and I appreciate the support of those that came to the event and listened to the wonderful accomplishments that we've gotten to as of the state. I want to go in and I want to note that training is going on, and I appreciate your report here, Mr. Trejo, identifying the training that our building inspectors 1 and 2, Hostetter and Durham, will be attending the Missouri Association of Code Enforcement MACE meeting. And then we've got some additional meetings coming up for our inspectors. And kudos, I'm going to want to know more. Mr. Trejo, you're going to be doing something with the planning division the week of October 7th. You're going to be a presenter along with our wonderful esteemed Beth Quidry, who helped us with Shockley Consulting. So once you are done with that and you do that presentation, I'd love to hear how it went and the feedback that you got from it. So, and that is when you serve as a panelist speaker for the UMSL Chancellor Certificate Planning and Zoning Program as a guest speaker to the 8th graders at John Burroughs School as well. I'm curious about that one as well. So with that, I don't have anything further. If there's anything any council member forgot, do you want to speak up again? All right, if not, then we will then move on to item number 7, which is hearing from citizens. I do not have any cards. I see one person in attendance, Ruth. I think we know who that esteemed individual is. But it is hearing from citizens, and in all fairness, is there anyone that would like to speak at this hearing from citizens? Part 1. In the audience, raise your hand if you're a panelist. All right, we will move on to item number 8, Madam City Clerk.
Item number 8, Bill 3029, an ordinance authorizing certain revisions to the documents approved by ordinance numbers 2727 and 2768 relating to the issuance of taxable industrial revenue bonds for a project located on Irvington Court and Ram Court in the city.
So as we mentioned at the last meeting, this is very minor text amendments to the documents you approved a couple of years ago. The minor amendments include updating staff members who have changed, particularly the city clerk, as well as adding the names of the bank lending institutions who were not known at the time that you approved this ordinance, and then adding some language that the attorneys for various parties have asked be involved. This does not change the scope of the work. It does not change the incentives that were provided. These are very minor text amendments. And so staff is asking that the council read this a second time and then approve the amendments. And Mr. Spikerman is here if you would like more information.
All right, does anyone have any questions or any comments to provide to Mr. Spikerman with regards to this document and our action to be taken? All right, and you got my feedback from that earlier. Okay, very good. All right, thank you so much. I do tend to read, but sometimes I don't do it over the weekend, so I appreciate my ability to point that out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I will entertain a recommendation action motion.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve bill. We approve Bill 3029, an ordinance authorizing certain revisions to the documents approved by ordinances numbers 2027 and 2768 relating to the issuance of taxable industrial revenue bonds for a project located on Irvington Court and Raymond Court in the city.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Knox,
yes,
Mayor Waldman.
Yes.
The motion is approved. Bill 3029 becomes ordinance 2800.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go to item number 9, bill number 3031. Madam Clerk.
Bill 3031, an ordinance authorizing a special permit to D&K Olive LLC and Dream Steam Academy LLC to operate a child daycare facility, 2007 NAICS 6244 at 9310 Olive Boulevard, to be known as Little Stems, zoned COR Commercial Office Retail District.
Mr. Trejo, good evening. You have
Good
the
evening,
floor,
Mayor.
sir.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Tonight, I'm here in regards to Bill 3031, requesting a public hearing on behalf of the petitioners. And as soon as you're set, Mayor, to close the.
All right, we will close regular meeting, go into a public meeting. Thank you. I just went blank. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Carlos Trejo. I am the Director of Planning and Community Development for the City of Olivet. And tonight here in regards to Bill 3031, which is a special permit request for the property address is 9310 Olive Boulevard for the operations of a child daycare facility to be known as essentially as Little Stems. And there have with the assistance of the city manager, a quick slideshow to kind of give over some of the information. The property's address is 9310 Olive Boulevard. It's located on the eastern edge of the city, approximately about a quarter mile west of the I-170 Olive interchange. The parcel itself is about a little over half an acre, 0.68 acres of a lot. And it has an existing 6,256 square foot commercial building that is currently vacant. It used to be the facility where the St. Louis Academy of Dance operated out of. The proposed use is for a child daycare facility, and under our current ordinance, under Chapter 400, the property grounds are zoned COR, Commercial Office Retail District, and under the COR District, which is Commercial Office Retail, a child daycare facility is authorized only as a special permit use, and I'll go over the processes of the special permit, but it is a listed use within the district. The next slide will just kind of give you some general aerial of the property. It's kind of, the building is kind of perpendicular to Olive Boulevard. It faces east to west, so visibility along the storefronts is pretty minimal. It's pretty constricted between developed properties on both ends. On the both east and west, there are commercial properties, but along the southeast, the southeast and the south, you get about single family residential properties off of the Kenneth and Dolores streets. In there, you can see the streetscape here on Olive. Again, the short edge of the building faces Olive, with a longer face of the building going north to south, and doesn't have full visibility off of Olive. In there, the building was roughly built, I believe, in the 1980s. I know the staff report identifies the specific date. I don't have that in my notes right now. So in regards to a special permit, which would be on the next slide, this is a process outlined within our code of ordinances, in which the Plan Commission is actually conducting a review on the behalf for the council, in which the Plan Commission ultimately will forward to the council a recommendation, Then the council, after a public hearing, will consider that recommendation and then will act on the requested use. And if approved, it's approved through an actual ordinance in there. The whole purpose of the special permit use process is to determine the suitability of this use. These uses are usually unique. There's something unique about them. And there, so say for a restaurant, you have a lot of different licenses and certifications that are involved. For a daycare facility, you have the states that are involved. You have other agencies that are involved in there. You're dealing with people with limited mobilities and things. So therefore, because we can't write a code that covers everything, these type of unique uses have an extra layer of review that allows both the commission to recommend to the council and the council to take a closer look at what's being proposed and how it impacts its surroundings, not just in noise, parking and things, but also if it has any impact in terms of services or other needs that are unique or special that normally wouldn't hinder a commercial or retailer in there. Ultimately, the commission provides the recommendation to the council. The council approves it upon ordinance, and even adding on to that, at any time the council reserves the right to repeal the special permit if the conditions or the use no longer fits the general neighborhood character of the site. There is a process for that, of course, in there. When we review the special permit use, we have a broad discretion in terms how we review it, and that's how it's going to impact the area, the underlying district. We utilize our comp plan. Does it further its goals and objectives? We determine its site suitability. You may have where it works in one site, but it doesn't work on another site, given the area or given the dimensions. We consider the surrounding impact. Are there residents behind there? Are there other uses behind that we should be cognizant of, that these may not be as compatible? And then the council, of course, where the city reserves the right to mitigate some of these issues through buffer screening, additional architecture improvements, open space, or established limitations like specific hours of operation or capacities on occupancy in there. Because again, the whole premise of the process is that this is a unique use, and we're trying to make it work within that underlying zoning district as best as possible. And in terms of the regulatory materials that we use in that assessment is, of course, our 2004 comprehensive plan update, our COR district, which references institution of the implementation of the comprehensive plan, and chapter 428, which furthers all the boulevard goals and objectives in there. So as we reviewed this site, on our next slide, we'll show in terms of again, quickly summarizing some of these. It requires site plan review. It's got to be listed. It's got to further the comprehensive plan. It's got to be suitable to the environment surroundings. It's got to complement the neighborhood and the architecture. They have to mitigate spillover effects. They have to allow, the city is allowed to impose conditions regarding buffering, aesthetics, open space, or other limitations, and ensure that there's adequate services that could be provided to the site. So in review of this site, on the next slide, you'll see, this was a unique site. The building's been vacant for a while. St. Louis Academy of Dance, is my understanding, still has a lease on the site. St. Louis Academy of Dance is relocated, of course, to Olivet Center. We approved that special permit at the end of last year in there. So they engage with a child care facility, which kind of mirrored or mimicked their uses. They provided instructional training to minors and adults in there. In this case, they looked at a child daycare facility, kind of complementary to that use of being or considered in there. They're proposing 3 age levels: infants up to a maximum of 10, toddlers not to exceed about 35, and preschools, schoolers not to exceed about 45 at a max. They'll provide a STEAM center in there, so these children that are already in the facility will have the opportunity to utilize their STEAM center facilities in there. They'll provide some food service, and then they'll have some administrative support functions within the building itself. So when we looked at this site, and I think everybody knows, and we also know why the Academy of Dance had moved, is traffic. And this is a difficult site to maneuver in and out of. No fault to the site itself. It's just a result of the planning decisions that were made way long ago, where we weren't really focused on coordinating or interconnection between parcels. in there. We were very concerned about having this type of use, especially when you have individuals with limited mobility utilizing the site like this in there. So the first thing we did with the petitioner is that we had a roundtable discussion with the chief of police, the police major, the fire chief, and the fire marshal, and our building inspector. And we sat down and we talked about how we service that facility. What are the concerns about parking? What are the concerns about traffic? What are the concerns about providing fire services and emergency services and support in there? And again, we all concluded that this is a difficult site in there, but what creates that difficulty is going to remain regardless of what type of use goes in there. And we tried to work with how can we implement some conditions or some mitigation efforts to try to address these issues as best as we can and get that site back into an activity. And right now, there isn't no immediate pressure for any of the properties on either side to redevelop or this site to go away. And the status quo just isn't in the best interest of the city of seeing a vacant building underutilized. So working with the petitioner, they put together an arrival and dismissal plan, kind of scattering hours of hours of drop off and pickup, restricting right turn only during certain hours when you exit the site. Considering, if that doesn't work, another tier of having staff out there directing some of the traffic during, as users are leaving the site in early mornings or late afternoons, replacing the exterior lighting on the site because it doesn't comply with our Chapter 428 standards, which is the Olive Boulevard enhancements. To work with the owner to secure cross-access easements to the adjacent parcels, that if by chance one of these parcels does redevelop, we have an opportunity to integrate cross-access to help get circulation moving onto that site. And then how do we implement some of this, the design standards from Chapter 428, which are those streetscape improvements. We understand that the petitioner is kind of subleasing a component of this. They're going to be making a big investment in terms of interior renovations to make this site usable for a daycare facility in there. So we wanted to kind of work with them and also in phasing some of these improvements through the process of time. Of course, we want to address the traffic issues as quick as possible. On that, those will be done at the time of occupancy. We also felt that, if they're changing lights inside, they can change the lights outside and get those issues addressed at the time of occupancy. But over time, since they're subleasing and they'll hopefully, if they're successful, will be renegotiating the lease amongst themselves and the owner, that we can get a cross-access easement within 3 years, and then within 5 years to get improvements, some aesthetic improvements along the streetscape. In there and kind of phase those in over time and tie these through the ordinance, and the petitioner has agreed. So the next slide would identify the conditions that were imposed by the commission. Some of these are required by code. Every child daycare facility has to provide at least 600 square feet of outdoor play area, which they do already show in their plan. That play area is limited by code from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Because in consideration to some of the residential properties abutting the site or any site in a play area. And then again, repeating some of the conditions that the commission was willing to work with the petitioner was to replace all the exterior signage prior to occupancy, and then within the next 6 months to provide staff a schedule on how within 3 years they'll get the cross-access easement, and 5 years work on putting a new fence and doing some streetscape improvements. Right now, the fencing that's in place is pretty new. It's a wooden fencing. We're not sure if they were part of the residential properties or part of theirs, but ultimately we would like to upgrade that to the stone finishes that we've seen at the Firestone, or we've seen at the Oliver, or even at the Crossing in there. And then we'd also like to see some enhancements along the sidewalk, similar to what we've seen other properties or improvements do along Olive. Conditions regarding the traffic, the controls and the hours of operation are already within the ordinance or agreed upon within the plan submission that was submitted by the petitioner. Outside of that, Mayor, if I can enter a couple of items into the record, and then that'll be in the next slide. And those items would be the 2024 comprehensive plan update, including our catalyst strategy and the Olive Boulevard conceptual master plan. The staff presentation and memorandum to the Plan Commission dated August 1st, 2024, including the petition and the supporting plans and documents that went before the commission or before you now today. Our public hearing notice and affidavit of publication, this was posted in the St. Louis County on August 12th, 2024. In there, and then we also notified adjacent properties within 300 feet of of this public hearing tonight. Also into the record, the Olivet Municipal Code and zoning map, and then this presentation before the commission on August 27th, 2024. Beyond that, Mayor, I'd be glad to answer any specific questions, and then we do have the petitioner, Latoya Blair, in attendance, which I'd like to introduce, and then if there's any questions from Ms. Blair.
This is the public portion hearing, public hearing on this. Does any of the council have any follow-up questions of Mr. Trejo? Okay, but we're supposed to go with the public. Yeah, we're supposed to go with the public first. Anybody in the audience that has any questions, I'll call you up, Ms. Blair, if you want. Anybody in the audience have any questions with regards to this item? All right, and I see an individual online, but that's for another issue. So with that in mind, Ms. Blair, would you like to come up and say anything? You do not have to, but would you like to? You've been an enjoyable individual at PCDC, so come on up.
Good afternoon. My name is Latoya Blair, and just really excited to be able to provide quality education, specifically STEAM education to the community. I think it's super important. I do the work now and been in education since 2008. And so I'm just dedicated to the work. I believe in it. And so that's my plan.
Right, and I think you're dedicated because you're going to be doing these improvements. You're not going to be the owner of the building. God bless you.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, maybe one day you will be.
Thanks. I
That
hope
would
so.
be nice. All righty,
you.
okay. With that noted, there's no other public comments. I will close the public hearing. We will go back into the regular city council meeting, and I will now recognize a fellow council member, Ms. Weil.
She
Blair.
can stay because you might need help with some of my questions.
Go ahead.
So as a early childhood advocate and educator, a lot of questions came into mind because I haven't been at the PCDC meetings. So one of my first questions is this going to be a franchise or is it privately owned?
Privately owned.
And are you seeking Missouri licensing?
Yes.
So, so that means that because the number of students per space look like an awful lot of kids, and maybe the space is bigger than I think. So that will meet the Missouri licensing guides.
Yes, and I can speak to that. So those numbers that were on there were the numbers that the state came out, measured, and approved for. What I know about good practices in education is not to cram 34 students in a classroom with 2 adults because you can. And so my numbers will look a little different with regards to ratio and, just to make sure we're providing quality education.
So that's the maximum that the state gave you. Great. Are you intending to have a playground eventually?
Yes, so state requirements will have you have a playground, and it's going to be on the back end of the building. My cardinal directions are not well, but the back end of the building, and it's going to be fenced in along that the south side. There you go, of the building.
Okay, no, because being on a busy street on Olive Boulevard, that was a concern. But right now, that's not green space, that's concrete. And you have to
Yes.
put that in.
Yep, it's parking space, and the fall protection equipment is recycled tire.
Okay. And I guess, because Carlos, you did mention that you talked about with the fire department. So there's places, because you have to have like monthly fire drills and everything. There's places for these kids to evacuate to.
Yep.
That's
Yes. So we
significantly far enough away. Okay. Great. That covers my questions.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank
and
you.
We
Thank
wish you the
you.
best of luck.
Thank you.
And Mayor, just a couple of things on Councilman Wild's questions, because they are kind of they are covered by code. So when we calculated the occupancy, there's several tiers on how that's calculated. One is the building code. So each specific space has a designated number regardless of what the use is going to be.
Could you go back to that slide? Thank you. Please.
Right. 'Cause it is a pretty interesting process in there. So within the capacity of, let's say that the toddlers, the 2 to 3, where they're 45, the building code is actually probably looking at double that occupancy. Fortunately, since the state has a different square footage requirement per person, that brings that down. And then, of course, Ms. Blair is looking at, depending on her staff and teacher to student ratio
Right.
is even looking at a smaller number. So we had to balance, even though she was talking about a small number, I have to look at it from the building code perspective. And then that goes back to addressing the adequacy of the exiting and the distancing.
Right.
So while she's looking at let's say 40, the state's looking at 45. I may be looking that I need 80 kids to be out somewhere else and have multiple exits, even though she may not ever have that capacity in that space. Then our code also requires a playground in there, and that was, of course, through the council's adoption. So they're required to provide a playground. We did look at the site in there. I thought of the green space up in the front, so there was some activities. The police and fire were concerned because of the olive traffic, and it made sense in there. So they are looking at the back of the building, and of course, Ms. Blair was also looking towards the Blair. So they do have to convert and have an actual playground in the process, and it sounds like the state would have that requirement too in there. So I thought there were good questions because, again, we had to address those with them, and then sitting with the police chief, the fire department is, how is, we knew the ambulance vehicle and how it would get in and out of that site to address an emergency situation. But we also had to know how the fire truck or a pumper or a neighboring community fire apparatus and how it's going to get in and where it's going to serve. And some of them would be on an adjacent site, which would have been how they were going to be served even today, whether the building was occupied or vacant.
So, Ms. Blair really addressed the issue because though Olivet, the ordinance would allow more children, the state licensing for early childhood has ratios and square feet. The per child square foot is going to be different than what our ordinances are.
Right.
So she probably will never hit 45, 2 and 3-year-olds in that space. I mean, because they have to nap and do, have other, things that they need to take care of. So, I love the fact that that you want to come into Olivetta, and I love the fact that you've been doing this a long time, so you know what you're doing. So,
Appreciate the
Thank you.
councilman's expertise with regard to this particular line of work and always to make sure things are safe. Pro Tem Knox, you had a question, sir.
Yes, good evening. I just have a few questions on my expertise. I guess in your operation plan, will you have like an emergency operation plan? If something happens there, where are you gonna take the children?
Yes, so we have to provide a fire plan, tornado plan, earthquake, and then we have to run 2 drills a month for those plans. And so that will be submitted, but just the direction in which the children must travel, where they're going, how they, duck and cover, take care of themselves, and all those things have to be written out and approved.
Then the next thing I have, and I just added the numbers
Mhm.
up to 89. How many, let's say, how many staff will you have there each day?
Each day, so at the top of my head, I have it all written down on my computer. Top of my head for infants is 1 to 4. So we'll have 2 adults for 8 infants in that classroom. Licensing will allow you to have, the room size will allow you to have 10, but licensing is again 1 to 4 adults. For 4 and 5-year-olds, you're at 1 to 10. So my plan is to be at 1 to 8. So 16 children, 2 adults in that room. So we're already at 4 adults there. 2 to 3s is 1 to 8 in real life. But my ratio will be 1 to 6, and then I would have 2 in that room as well. So I'm at 8 with just like staff, just general staff around the building, but 7 teachers.
Okay. And then the next thing is, do you have any plans for any security systems?
Yes, so it's already hardwired for a security system. And I've done a little bit of research with the current system that I use. But just doing some research on what's best for this type of square footage and surveillance and things like that. So yes, we do plan to have a monitoring system as well.
Okay, and then, so you're gonna have an alarm system, and you said something about having, surveillance cameras.
Mhm.
And then the last thing I have is, you have all the children inside. Is there gonna be like, doors so people can't get in?
Yeah,
Like the
so,
schools
yep.
do now?
So there are exit doors in, I want to say 3 out of the 5 rooms. So you have to have exit doors for 2s and 3s and infants, but there are other doors, the way that we have it divided for students to exit in the case of an emergency, but those doors are locked. So the main entry will not be open. My goal is to either have pin pad access or, you're just buzzed in by the front door attendant.
You answered all my questions.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
All right, if there are no, and
Yes.
thank you so much. And you were very pleasant with those questions at PCDC as well. And you're very excited, and we're excited to have you come in and work with the youth of our community and surrounding areas. All right, with that, we are back. I will, if there's no other questions, I will entertain the motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Bill 3031, an ordinance authorizing a special permit to DKN Olive LLC and Dream Steam Academy LLC to operate a child daycare facility, 2007 NAICS 6244 at 9310 Olive Boulevard, to be known as Little Stems Zoned COR Commercial Office Retail District.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. If there are no additional questions, please poll the council.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Knox,
Yes.
Mayor Waldman.
Yes.
The motion is approved. Bill 3029 becomes ordinance 2801.
Thank you very much. We
Thank
will
you,
go
Mayor.
to item number 10, bill number 3032. Madam Clerk.
Item number 10, Bill 3032, an ordinance reaffirming and adopting Chapter 115, Article 3, Section 115.080 to 115.120, Conflict of Interest of the City of Olivet, Missouri Municipal Code, and establishing a procedure to disclose potential conflicts of interest and substantial interests for certain municipal officials. First reading.
Ms. Yackley, this is first reading. Was there anything you wish to state with regard to this, ma'am?
No, this is the annual conflict of interest ordinance. You do it every year.
All right, hearing such, we will move on to item number 11. Who's got that one? You? Mr. Trejo?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Again, my name's Carlos Trejo. I'm the Director of Planning and Community Development for the City of Olivet. And tonight I'm here to request approval from the council to purchase one 2024 Ford Escape, a all-wheel drive at a price of $30,000 from Broadway Ford Truck Sales dealership. This was part of the adopted budget, the capital improvement plan. In there, and $30,000 was allocated for a vehicle purchase. The report kind of goes over the current fleet that we have in the department and the goal of the department of having its own fleet and keeping them consistent in there. This will be the third Escape that we would have in there. The vehicles have worked well. They're sized just about right. They're not overly sized. They provide all-wheel drive. And they've helped the morale of the department in terms of their uses, because before we would get hand-me-downs from the police department in there. So asking the council to take that into consideration, entertain a motion for the purchase, and then also to thank the police department. It takes a village, but Corporal Derdinger helped us get these quotes in there and take a look at this stuff, and does a lot for us, and we're greatly appreciative of his assistance.
All right, very good. There's no I, there's a team, and we have a great team here, so good work. Kudos to the gentleman. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam-
Madam, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of a 2024 Ford Escape all-wheel drive at the price not to exceed $30,000 from Broadway Ford Truck Sales.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl, Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Knox,
Yes.
Mayor Waldman.
Yes.
The motion was approved.
Thank you
Thank
very
you, Mayor,
much.
members of the council.
Thank you, Mr. Trejo. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're up to item number 12. Mr. Paul Martin, the recognition of Mr. Paul Martin. Ms. Yackley, you've had a very long relationship with him as much as we have. I am turning it over to you. Go ahead.
Oh, well.
You're in trouble.
No.
There's crying going on.
There's
Okay.
no crying going on because I know that Paul is still going to be around because he still has to do the railroad. And if, if history is a precursor, he'll be around for a while. So I'm not worried about that. But we do wish you all the best in your retirement. And we would just like to give you a small token of appreciation that Beverly actually created. It is sorry. It's a photo collage of various buildings. There's the city center, Five Oaks, Public Works, the Stacy Pavilion. You on the council? And there's evidently a Paul Martin's restaurant in California, right? So I think perhaps that should be your next vacation, to go eat at Paul Martin's restaurant.
That sounds fantastic.
So, yeah, and then there's a quote, what is the city but the people, from William Shakespeare? And in gratitude and appreciation to Paul Martin Esquire for serving the city of Olivet through times of growth, innovative policy development, fiscal challenges, and prosperity, a global pandemic, bond measures, capital projects, and for helping provide residents with equity, respect, and exemplary customer service. So we will miss you.
Thank you very much. That's beautiful.
Yes. And so I think perhaps we have two special guests, and perhaps we allow them to speak. So
Bring 'em up.
on the call are Barb Sondak, the former city manager, and Ruth Springer, who is a former longtime council member here for the city of Olivet. So in alphabetical order, we will turn the floor over to Barb Sondag. I don't know. So Barb, you're up.
Unmute.
All right. Hello.
Hello.
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So, well, thank you very much, Jennifer, for inviting me for this evening. This is a really big night for the city of Olivet. And I actually thought Paul's last meeting was last week. So I'd sent him a quick email saying, hey, here tonight's your last meeting. You have no idea. They have no idea what they're going to be losing. It's a privilege working with you. You're an excellent municipal attorney. People underestimate those qualifications. I can't tell you enough about how wonderful it is working with you. But now I have an opportunity. I want to expand on that just a little bit. A municipal attorney is a really tough job. And the really good ones are the legal advisors, strategists, and therapists. And in Olivet, Paul reports to 5 council members and 8,000 citizens. That's 8,005 people who know the law better than Paul. And that's not counting staff, who each also had their own opinion of Paul's opinions. We all want the city attorney to agree with us, to give us permission, to allow us to say, oh, sorry, but we can't. I would try at times to preface my questions to Paul with saying, and now the answer is yes, Barb, you can. But Paul didn't play that game, not with me or the council. Paul is always shot straight and knew that the best thing he could do is give us his best legal opinion, even if we didn't want to hear it. But he did more than give legal advice or give legal opinions. He gave advice. The best municipal attorneys will say, well, you can legally, whatever it is. But really the question is, should you? They remind us of our oaths and of our obligations. And sometimes they do so at a risk. Paul has been a moral compass, a knowledgeable advisor, and a friend. It was a privilege to work with him, to strategize, to kick around crazy ideas, to see him on a few occasions get really fired up, and just to have a lot of laughs. And in the end, I consider Paul a good friend, someone whose opinion I respect and to whom I will listen. And Paul, to you directly, retirement is really nice. Grandchildren are really fun. A beer at lunch is good. And having time to work out is now a luxury. It's not a luxury anymore. You can do it. So you've left your imprint on both St. Louis County and on Olivet. And thank you. And I hope you enjoy retirement.
Thank you, Barb.
Thanks, Paul.
The camera's cutting Paul off. You should be.
Well, we can fix that.
Oh, great.
We can fix that. All right, so I'm going to elevate Ruth Springer. Ruth, are you with us?
I am.
All right, the floor is yours.
Oh, boy. You know, one of the problems of speaking after Barb is that she said everything I want to say. So there isn't that much left to say, but I am very happy for you, Paul. Congratulations on your retirement. Certainly during my tenure on the council, you were the legal pillar for the city and you helped guide the council. And much in the same way that we said to Barb when we interviewed her for a city manager position, we asked her if she would ever let us drive ourselves off the cliff. You never let us do that. You always made sure that we stayed within the boundaries. As much as Barb said, we may have wanted to overstep them. You made sure that we understood that that was not our role. And on a personal level, your friendship and your counsel were always so much appreciated. And I always knew that you had my back. And it was a privilege to work with you. You are a very kind and gentle person. And that was, for me, what made our relationship it just made it very special. So best wishes and welcome to the Retired from Olivet Club. Like Barb said, it's great. It really is. You know, you may think that you'll have more time now that your evenings are no longer filled with meetings, but believe me, you will find yourself busier than ever and enjoying every minute. And I hope that you take all of those opportunities and enjoy every single one of them. Good luck to you. And I do hope our paths will cross again. You know, for whatever few times I come in and out of St. Louis, I hope I'll have an opportunity to see you again, Paul.
So, Ruth, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
And Paul, if you want to say some words first, but on behalf of the council and the city, we have something that we would like to give you.
Okay.
Please be very careful. Give you the scissors. You need a knife. Thank you so much. Please be very careful. Here's the scissors. We hope you thoroughly enjoy it. And when you look at that along with the collage that was created by Miss Beverly Tucker Knight, that you think of us. It's beautiful. Do you want to go ahead and read what's on there?
Gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Paul Martin, Olivet City Attorney, in recognition of 21 years of exceptional service to the city of Olivet, your wisdom and dedication have left lasting legacy, shaping our city and guiding its future.
Let me pick that up and show it to our audience.
Our audience.
That's very cool.
Well, we have an audience that's online.
That's beautiful.
Nice.
Very cool.
All right, ladies, it was wonderful to hear your voices, the wonderful people that helped pave the direction of where the city has been for the last 20 years. May you both continue enjoying your retirement and your grandchildren as they continue to grow and put wonderful smiles on your faces. Paul, yeah, I'm going there now.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Paul, is there anything you'd like to say before I go to the council and ask if they would like to say something? Because you've just heard from two esteemed people that.
Oh, why don't I wait till the end?
All right, very good. I'm gonna start over here with Councilmember Wild. Go ahead.
I wrote mine down.
The teacher you are, ma'am, the teacher you are.
Paul, when I joined the council, you were welcoming and you became a wonderful resource. You taught me the depth and breadth of municipal law. You broke it down to the layman terms when necessary. Your patience, kindness, sense of detail, and love of law has set the bar high for your successor, unintended. I admire and respect how hard you've worked throughout your career with Olivet and other municipalities. You not only made an impact and huge difference, but also touched a lot of lives along the way. I wish you nothing but the best. Congratulations.
Next.
Paul, I think I've known you the longest here. And probably was responsible for calling you the most, but my predecessor, Chief Hank Davenport, the first thing he always told me, if you have a question or you got to make a decision, call the attorney first. And that's what guided me as the assistant chief and also as the chief of police. And I never ever received bad information. Sometimes wasn't the information I wanted to hear, but it was the right information. And like Barb and Ruth said, you kept us from going over the ledge. And I said to Barb many times, maybe we should call Paul, call Saul.
And Barb said, no, don't.
No, we gotta call the attorney. But I appreciate your expertise. Barb mentioned something about the city and St. Louis County. But you're known and you represented us on the state level too many times. And we appreciate that. And I appreciate you as our attorney, but I also appreciate you as my friend. When we did the turkey trot, you led the pace and I always tried to keep up with you. But thank you very much. And I wish you well. As I said before, retirement's like being a teenager with money. They keep sending that check and you just keep having fun. So enjoy your retirement.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Clark.
It's kind of hard to follow such esteemed orators who speak on behalf of this city, but I'll do the best that I can. I'm very proud of this city. When people ask where I live, I don't say I live in St. Louis. I live in Olivet. And this city has been made great because of men and women like you who work hard and take pride in what they do. And you have offered some really great leadership to us in this city, and you represent well. There's so many horrible jokes about attorneys, and you have broke the mold when it comes to a good attorney and a kind man. And I am honored to say that I know you. I'm honored to say that you're also my friend, and that it's good to have a man like yourself. Just and I appreciate the work that you've done here. I know you won't be hard to find, but I hope that the rest of your life will be the best of your life. Thank you again for your service.
You, Sydney.
You are just a wonderful worker, Mr. Greg Carl.
Well, as Sydney said, it's hard to, after all of this, to sum up anything else. I'll simply apologize for asking you legal questions in open session. All the times I did it and shouldn't have. And you don't have to worry about that anymore. And so I just wish you the best in your new adventure. I'm going to miss you on the council here at on the council, because I always enjoyed not only your advice, thinking it was excellent, but your personality and just getting along with you. So I do consider you a friend as well as a business acquaintance, and go out there and enjoy.
Thank you.
Paul, everyone has really said, everything that could be said. I've known you through the day job, I've known you through the night job here. You will be missed. There's been great leaders throughout the tenure of my time on the council. And as Jennifer said, you're not totally going away. You're gonna continue to stay around and do a little bit of wrapping things up. Paul, the one thing that I appreciated throughout the years, and I know I would call you and congratulate you, is when you would write articles for the municipal magazine. That municipal magazine went to the entire state, a very government body, and your advice and what you provided in those articles were extremely important and very valuable to those that choose to work in local governance. So all the way around, you will be missed. You are much appreciated. Someone kept us out of the weeds. You kept us from jumping over the ledge. And as much as you've heard my line about lawyers, love them, hate them, I love you, Paul. You've been great for the city, and it is much appreciated that we have this opportunity to recognize you and acknowledge you and give you some private gifts when this meeting is over as well from the council. All right. Paul, it's yours. The floor is yours, baby.
Okay, well, thank you all very much. Seems like only yesterday that I was being interviewed by Craig Cohen and Kent Licklider, and was lucky enough to get the job. And really have loved every minute of it, and I love all you guys. Barb and Ruth, that goes for you too. I've been extremely lucky to work with dedicated public servants, and this is something that has motivated me throughout my career, is that, you guys get it. You're on the ground, you're at a basic level, you're volunteering your time essentially, and you're doing good work. And I have always been very happy to be a part of that. So, the city has grown so much. We've got this great collage, shows some of the things that we've accomplished, built some roads, did some projects, won some cases. It's been a slice. And the staff that we've worked with over the years has been fantastic. And we've got the stalwarts like Carlos, and now Darren and Bev have joined that. And now we have Jennifer, who's come on board. And Stephanie is going to be coming in, and she is going to do just fine. I am very happy with where you all right now. Jennifer Conrad, didn't mean to miss you. And and the city's in good hands, and I'm really proud to have been a part of it. And thank you all very, very much. It really touches me. Oh, can I say one more thing? Not being obligated to go to, this is my last night meeting.
It is.
So not being obligated to go to night meetings anymore. My wife Nancy is in the back. She is absolutely unthrilled.
I'm thrilled.
I'm thrilled. I don't know. I don't know if she knows what she's getting into, but she's looking. Yeah, yeah. Looking forward to it. She seems to be getting doing a lot of things at night lately. I don't understand, but.
Paul? When I retired, my wife said I had to be out of the house 3 days a week and the TV can't go on until after 5 o'clock.
Thanks a lot.
It's okay.
She's right here. But thank you all. It's been great.
Thanks, Paul. We're gonna miss you. It'll be a little different, but it'll be okay. All right. We're gonna move on to item number 13, hearing from citizens. There is nobody other than Paul's wife and our staff in the audience. And Ms. Sondag on the line. Is there anyone that would like to deal with hearing from citizens part 2? Seeing none. All right, we will go to item number 14, review and acceptance of the minutes. Yes, it was just a slight little itty bitty. I gave it to Jennifer Conrad with regard to the minutes, so the minutes as amended should, all right, very
Madam
good.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the city council minutes from August 13th, 2024 as amended.
Second.
Moved in a second to accept the meeting minutes as amended. Please poll the council. Do we do that?
Yes,
Am
I
I-
had a second. Yeah, I second.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Knox.
Yes.
Mayor Waldman,
Yes.
motion is passed.
One more time, Mr. Martin. City Attorney Report by Mr. Paul Martin.
Well, the good news is there is no closed session at the end of the evening.
Whoa.
But I'm not letting you all get away without one final report. You may be aware today that the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld the decision of the U.S. District Court of Eastern Missouri in declaring that Missouri's Second Amendment Protection Act is unconstitutional. And just for a little bit of background and very broad background, this is a Missouri law that sought to nullify different aspects of federal laws that tended to encroach on the Missouri legislature's belief in the unfettered right to bear arms. And it in fact prohibited local law enforcement from working with federal agencies in certain circumstances at the cost of $50,000, a $50,000 fine per violation. So that law has been declared unconstitutional. There is an avenue for an appeal to the United States Supreme Court. It would be a discretionary review with the Supreme Court. In my opinion, the court would not be willing to touch this.
Missouri or?
Supreme Court of the United States. And I don't think they'll take it. I think that the Eighth Circuit's decision will stand. And my friend Stephanie will be here to help shepherd the police department through whatever changes might be necessary and to talk further about it if you're interested.
Right.
And that's it.
Paul, that is wonderful news. Wonderful news for your last day.
So
Thank you so much.
on that last news, I just want to remind the council that there is a reception in the city center and invite everyone that's here, including our police officers, as there is the traditional Olivet treat of Miss Helene's cake, both chocolate and lemon in the back.
And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion. Oh, I'm being more formal. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We are adjourned.
So moved.